As she put things in their place, she hummed and thought back. Not just on the last week spent with Steve, but the 2 years before it. How well their relationship was progressing, and how happy she was to be with such a great guy. She finished putting everything away, and as her mind started descending back to earth, she began to hear that throbbing, pounding music again. She looked at the clock. It read 11 in the morning. She had been there for an hour already putting things away, and yet her roommate still had not even left her room. She began to grow concerned and walked slowly, but nervously, to her roommate's room. She reached for the doorknob, turned it, and slowly pushed the door open. Jen, her roommate, was always a tomboy. Always hanging out with boys. Watching sports with them. Drinking beer. And she just recently started smoking cigarettes. Jen had never been what Kate would consider a proper girl. The two were still what you could consider friends. At least. In the way that two girls who don't fight usually are. Kate had met Jen when she moved in-state for college. Jen was originally from Ohio. Jen had needed a place to stay, since her on-campus living arrangements had fallen through. She had always said that she was going to go to school to be a vet, since she loved animals. She was doing really well at school until just recently. The night, as Kate knew it, even took a toll on her. Jen had just turned 21, and her parents were in town to help celebrate. Jen always noted that as she walked into the establishment, she saw a motorbike outside that she really liked. After they had finished eating, Jen had pasta, they walked outside. Instead of seeing her parents walk to their car, she saw them begin to walk towards the motorcycle. Needless to say, she was confused. As she reached the motorcycle, her parents began to say that it was hers. She was ecstatic. She had always wanted one and now, she had one. She jumped up and down, and gave each of her parents a huge hug and a wet kiss. She then remembered that there was a basketball game on at 8, both she and her dad wanted to see it, so she asked if they would like to meet back at her place. They said yes, and so she got on the motorcycle, turned right out of the parking lot, and drove through a stoplight. She noted that it turned yellow just as she passed through, so it would probably turn red for her parents. It did, and her parents stopped at the light. After Jen reached her apartment complex, she went inside and climbed up the stairs that led to the second floor. She slowly drudged to apartment 7 and walked in. She saw her roommate, Kate, making popcorn. Kate said something about how everything is better if you watch it with popcorn. Jen never really knew how to handle Kate's overbearing motherly nature. As Jen sat down, she turned on the game and began to watch, starting to wonder where her parents were. 5 minutes passed, and Kate walked over with a bowl of popcorn and set it down. She then began to play with Jen's hair a bit. Kate always talked about how wonderful Jen's hair was. It was shoulder length, slightly curly, and dark brown. Jen swatted away Kate's hands, unable to handle any stimulation. Due to her increasing nervousness about her parents, Jen said she was worried about them, and that she was going to drive over and find out what was going on. As Jen left, she had a hollow feeling in her stomach. She knew something terrible had happened. She didn't even take notice of the sirens until she saw the ambulance and police cars sitting in the middle of the intersection, near a dark black car. She slowly began to walk towards it. After parking her bike, immediately blocking out anything else around her. When she got closer, she began to realize that it was her parents' car. She saw the two mangled. She couldn't handle anymore. She already knew what had happened. She whirled around and saw the slime that had hit her parents and his truck through her blurred, teary vision. She began to stalk over to him, feeling more hate for this man than she had ever felt in her life. As Jen walked up to him, fist clenched, ready to hit him, a police officer saw her and restrained her. The police officer began to ask what Jen was doing there, who she was, what her name was. It felt like 50 questions asked at once. She had no clue what was going on, so she said what she could through her tears and sobs. The police officer must have decoded enough that he knew who she was. He embraced her and told her he was sorry. He helped her to the front seat of his car and drove her home. "Well, they'll dry out eventually," Mum replied, before taking hold of a J-cloth with one hand, me with the other, and barging me back to my sister's room. She ordered me to clean up the mess I'd made on the floor, before hanging up the clothes I'd been trying on, which were now scattered around Jenny's bedroom floor. Jenny was crying in the kitchen when her mother entered. She was upset because not only was Peter wearing her things, but they were her favorite things. Her mother assured her that Peter would replace them with his pocket money. It's obviously not the first time he's done it, her mother said as she realized just how well he'd applied the makeup. Jenny said she often found things out of place, but she'd just assumed it was her mother. I never thought for a second it was Peter, she said. The thought of him rummaging through my drawers makes me sick. Well, something needs to change, her mother said, before a flash of inspiration. You always said you'd prefer Peter's room because it's bigger and has a better view, she said. Would you like to help me clear Peter's things out and you can move in tonight? Tonight? Jenny exclaimed. What about Peter? She asked. He'll move into your room, of course, her mother stated. If he'll go to such extremes to play dress up with your things, then maybe the ideal antidote is not to give him the choice. What do you mean? If he wants to dress as a girl, that's exactly what he'll be doing, whether he likes it or not. Jenny's jaw hit the floor at her mother's suggestion. She was speechless. Even for school? She asked, visualizing the scene as a thoughtful grin crossed her face. Well, much as I'd like to see him squirm. No, not for school, her mother replied. Pity. Jenny frowned. Her mother opened a cupboard and removed a large roll of bin bags. Well, let's get started, shall we? Jenny turned her nose up a little. I'm not overly keen on moving into his room. It's dirty and smelly and… Don't worry, Jenny, we can decorate this weekend. Plus it's about time you had a room more your age. Her mother smiled. Really? Jenny grinned. She bit her lip as she imagined what her new room would be like, what color she could paint it and what curtains to have. It was a dream come true for any 15-year-old girl who's eager to be a young woman. Peter was still hanging his sister's clothes back on their hangers when he heard them climb the stairs. He braced himself for the shame he'd feel when they saw him once more, wearing only his sister's stockings, knickers, and bra. However, they did not enter, so Pete relaxed a little. He cursed himself for getting caught as he hung the clothes back in his sister's wardrobe. He recoiled at the horrible frilly and floral affairs which shared the same space as the trendier skirts and dresses he preferred. Once he'd tied it up, he shyly exited his sister's room and crept, in his underwear, across the landing. He knew his mother and sister were in his bedroom, so he poked his head around the door, hiding his near nakedness from view. His heart, already fairly low, sunk to new depths as he saw his mother and sister mercilessly filling bin bags with his posters, Airfix models, old toys, and new gadgets. What are you doing? He rhetorically asked in a tone which lacked any hint of authority. His mother turned to see her son whimpering behind the door. What does it look like? She replied. We're making some changes. This will be Jenny's room from now on, she said as Jenny looked at her brother's face, streaked with eyeliner and his shoulder clad in nothing but the thin strap of her favorite bra. Peter looked around his bedroom. The shelves almost bare, the walls held only fragments of his posters, the floor, once littered with video games, odd shoes, dirty socks, and clothes, is now an ever-growing pile of black bin bags. Mum, can I put some clothes on, please? Peter asked in the same humble voice. No, his mother spat as she pulled open his drawers and began filling a bin bag with the contents.